So hey guys, today we're talking about uh deck building. Some design space that we have available in Yu-Gi-Oh in general at the moment. So I was thinking, in terms of like archetypes and monsters. Well, what we can do with normal monsters is technically, well, what we could do is, couldn't we make monsters? Well, make monsters become normal monsters? That design space hasn't really been tapped into at the moment. So I don't know how bad it would be, like in terms of like ruling issues or anything like that. But I was just taking a look at Prima and I was just thinking about it. So, for example, if we had some sort of archetype, I don't know, it wouldn't exactly be Primite. I don't know, it would have to have something to do with normal monsters in general. Not 100% sure what it would be. Probably some sort of drill beam-esque effects where if you control like a normal monster, you can do something, like maybe something in that regard. But I'm thinking like an archetype where you can just turn monsters into normal monsters. And what that would mean is essentially, like, let's say we take Chi-Xiao, okay? And if we have a Chi-Xiao and we just turn this into a normal monster, so normally it's an effect monster. If it becomes a normal monster, well, normal monsters have no effects. So if I were to convert my opponent's Chi-Xiao into a normal monster, so let's say target one of my opponent's monsters, it becomes a normal monster. Chi-Xiao is now a normal monster. It has no effects. So there are, well, a lot of kind of interesting aspects to this. So Chi-Xiao would not be a good target to do this to, because Chi-Xiao has the effect of if this card is synchro summoned, you can add to your hand or banish one total card from your deck. So in theory, if we go chain 1 Chi-Xiao, it would be chain 1 Chi-Xiao, right? And then chain 2, we turn Chi-Xiao into a normal monster. The effect that Chi-Xiao used would have already been activated, and therefore, like, it just resolves, right? Even if we convert Chi-Xiao to a normal monster and it has no effects afterwards. That would just prevent the second effect from activating later, which I think could be an interesting kind of dynamic, right? And also in terms of board breaking, converting your opponent's monsters into normal monsters would just strip them of their effects, and it would make the board easier to break because they just have, in theory, kind of useless vanillas. And in terms of interruption, it wouldn't be useful against something like a Chi-Xiao or even necessarily a Moyi. But there are cases where, for example, well, it depends on the exact card, right? Let's say my opponent does normal summon Maxi and they want to link this off for Almirage. I can turn Maxi into a normal monster, so this can't be used to link off into, I believe. Wait, actually, Almirage might not care. Yeah, Almirage doesn't care. But there's some monsters, I'm pretty sure, where it does require an effect monster for something. So in those cases, I could do that, and that would be impactful. In cases like where we have something like Punk, for example, with ignition effects, we can turn Xiamen into a normal monster, or we could turn like Rising Carp into a normal monster, and then it cannot use its effect because it doesn't have an effect because it's a normal monster. And there are certain cards that might do some things if that they're normal monsters, maybe. I don't know. Something in that kind of like vein, I guess. Some sort of card effects, like maybe, I don't know. But what would be useful? Maybe something like return all normal monsters to the hand, shuffle all normal monsters on the field into the deck. We have ideas like that, I suppose, that we could potentially do. I don't know exactly what the best thing to do would be, but I think like the idea has some merit in theory. Let's see, in terms of a combo, there is the idea of technically, like, you could link off for a monster like Link Spider, where it says it can only use normal monsters, but Link Spider doesn't fully work because your monsters are still like technically effect monsters, I guess. Would it be more worthwhile if this were done with like maybe a Gemini archetype? Let's see. What was the Gemini thing? This card is treated as a normal monster while face up on the field or in the graveyard, but not in hand. Wow. That's so annoying. So, yeah, Geminis are just pretty trash. Can't even Link Spider out a Gemini. Man. And then even if I did, it would still be considered a normal monster on field. And then you would have to like properly kind of normal summon it, sorta, to gain effects. Wow, Geminis really suck. I don't know. Maybe we would want like some sort of, I don't know. I think it'd be better to have it as XYZ because links are kind of degenerate. So maybe some sort of XYZ monster that wants to use like only normal monsters as its material. So maybe like kind of like a Typhon type deal or like Zodiac type deal where you would just XYZ summon on top of a normal monster, like a guy that searches or maybe does something. In terms of like boss monsters, I think it'd have to be purely like archetypal to not be completely splashed everywhere and be annoying like I might. Probably something along those lines would work. I'm thinking, yeah. And it'd be like kind of splashable a little bit in the sense that if you have extra bodies from another engine, you would convert those into like a normal monster. I think that'd be fine. And well, what other aspects would be great for converting monsters into normal monsters? Well, if we could do it multiple times and that would be like one of our main forms of interaction, I think that would be interesting. If we only were able to turn one monster into like a normal monster, I don't think that's enough. If we were to convert our opponent's monsters into normal monsters, is there anything interesting we could do? Maybe we could do something like rank up, since this could be an XYZ deck where you're able to use normal monsters from kind of anywhere. So let's say either your hand, that's too annoying. Okay, so anywhere from either graveyard, either field. If there's a normal monster in either of those locations, you could attach it as a material when you rank up into like the next kind of boss monster, maybe. I'm thinking. And then that would need to have some effect regarding normal monsters as well. So the main interaction, I guess, what would be the next thing we do aside from the normal monster stuff? So changing your opponent's monster into a normal monster. Part one. What would the part two for this be? Because this can't be it, right? Anything else we can do with like a normal monster? Just having a normal monster, it's not like that insane of a restriction. I guess if we were able to at least do that interaction multiple times, that'd be kind of handy. What does Herald do? Like Heraldic Beasts. I think there's like a card that has something to do with nameless monsters. Let's just type in Herald. Heraldry record. Nope. Augmented heraldry. Charged up heraldry. Nope. Oracle of the Herald. That's not the right archetype. I thought they had like a quick play or something. Something related to this now. It shows every single like number monster. It's so annoying. New mountain creation. Nope. Dawn Thousands Throne. Nope. Spiral of Destruction. Nope. Flash of Heraldry. Nope. Was it a trap? Urge Ray. Wait, what is this even? Okay, I guess. Battling Boxer, Number Walls of Eternity. None of these are the right card that I'm looking for. I thought there was a card that had something to do with Unknown. Oh, wait, Flash of Heraldry. It was this one. Target any number of face-up monsters your opponent controls. Those monsters' names become unknown. During your end phase, if you control Psychic XYZ monster and this card is in your graveyard, you can set this card but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay. Does this have any synergy with this? Face-up monsters your opponent control becomes unknown. Negate any unknown effects activated by your opponent. Okay. Is there like a punish we could do if our opponent controls like normal monsters? So they already can't activate their effects because they become normal monsters. Oh, I have an idea. Okay, so how about we have a field spell that says any monster special summoned with a normal monster becomes a normal monster. That would be a kind of neat effect. I don't think this would be purely floodgating, and maybe there's a limited amount of times you can do this. Not 100% sure. But if you use like a normal monster, like a monster I make become a normal monster as material for something, then you're just summoning another kind of vanilla. That's pretty cool, I guess. Pretty chill. And it's something you can actually play around, is you can just make sure not to do that. Or you could kind of force that effect. So like idea of, let's say I'm playing Yummy. I don't know. Special summon Cupsy Yummy. I maybe don't want you activating Yummy Snatchy's effect, so I'll turn like Cupsy Yummy into a normal monster. But then you can just turn this into Lingrivo, special summon like Cookie Yummy, and then you can go special summon Cupsy Yummy way, I guess. That'd be a way you could go about it, and I think that's like fair. And we don't have to like make it purely a floodgate at this point, right? Because then if Linkrivo, I guess, would be a normal monster if we made the effect, that effect, card once per turn, then you could still go into like Cupsy Yummy way without this becoming a normal monster. I think that'd be pretty cool. Anything else you could do in particular? Something to do with normal monsters, maybe? Oh. I guess what could be fun, I suppose, is something to do with normal monsters in the archetype, probably. Some reason to run normal monsters or something. Let's say we have some sort of maybe fusion or XYZ, I guess. So, the rank up thing, I like that idea a bit. How about something like a monster that is, or a card effect that is able to do the attached thing, but in a different way? So, every single normal monster we can attach onto this card. Like, we can attach as many, like, in theory, quote unquote, normal monsters from either field or graveyard to this card. And a different effect. Well, we have different effects on this boss monster probably based on how many materials it has, and probably an effect that based on how many normal monsters there are on field or something, or field or graveyard or something. We can Foolish Burial some normal monsters or something. Or maybe, no, wait, here's a better one. How about I can attach, like, depending on how many normal monsters there are on field and graveyard, I can attach that many archetypal cards to my boss monster. And those count as, well, do those need to count as normal monsters? I guess they don't. They just need to be attached. And then we can do some sort of effect. I don't know. What effect would be reasonable at this point? Like, converting all of the monsters in the graveyard into normal monsters would be like really hard to keep track of and kind of annoying. So anything like off field becomes like annoying. I mean, technically, if you put in card text, that could be a thing. But we could also just make it like kind of lingering floodgate effect almost. Not even lingering that hard, but maybe something like all monsters in the graveyard are considered normal monsters, or if you reach a like a relatively high amount of XYZ material, we can do something like uh all monsters aside from the boss monster here activating this effect are going to be considered normal monsters. So cards in uh monsters in your hand, graveyard, banishment, wherever, all of them are just considered normal monsters. That'd be pretty strong. Maybe that effect should only be usable on technically your own turn, because that'd be like a bit aggressive. Pretty crazy though, I guess. Hmm. I don't know. It feels like it has potential at least. Could spend some more time thinking about it, but yeah, I mean that's the basic idea. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.